Next speaker is Wessel van den Berg, who works for Sonke Gender Justice, and he's the manager of the Child and Parenting Portfolio.
My father was not available at all. Like it's a ghost.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I was just sorting out the sound there. I'm going to start with a very short film and then just ask a few questions and present a few ideas. My name is Wessel van den Berg. As I introduced me, I work for Sonke Gender Justice on a program called Men Care. And I'm really here looking for colleagues because there's a need out there, and it'll be great to identify ways that we can collaborate.
My father was not available at all. Like it's a ghost. My brother Andrew now is expecting his first child.
I'm gonna need his help with the baby. I'm gonna need him to be more understanding, to be more hands-on.
There are things that I'm nervous about. What kind of a father am I going to be?
Well, I'm worried that my brother Andrew might not be responsible enough. He started to mix with some gangsters around. This kind of attitude is going to take his life down the drain. Every time Andrew did this kind of bad things, I'm still thinking, what can I do to help him?
He told me that no, now you're old enough to have a baby, so I won't argue with that. I won't fight you for that. Only thing I'm gonna tell you, don't turn your back on your child. You must always be there for your child. You must love your child. That's what he told me.
The situation for women here is you're expected to go from work to being a mother at home, and you don't get any assistance from your partner.
I'm a security guard. It's not like I like it there, but I'm just working because I don't want my kid to grow up like I did. It affects you. It does affect you.
See, I know tomorrow, maybe some of us will be the fathers of tomorrow. It means we have to change that mindset.
That situation whereby men get around together and address these issues, it can make our communities open up.
It's very good for Andrew to have someone like that so that he can see that that's what a man does. He stands up for his responsibilities and then he takes care of them. Andrew is changing, is growing. He's part of that generation, the generation that wants the family.
He's an inspiration to me. My dreams for being a father, to be a father like him.
Okay, so that was Andrew and his baby. So that project ended at the end of 2015. There's some colleagues in the room who, from Western Cape Department of Health and other organizations that we collaborated with on that. There is a outline of how we structured the intervention. And I think the point of this slide is just to notice that it's not only in the facility, it's also in the community. It's not only with groups, it's also with individuals. But you also need the policy environment, the health systems to allow a space for an intervention to work. We had an evaluation at the end of 2015, and there were quite good outcomes, at least for us, in terms of fathers' attitudes towards being involved in maternal and child health care. So that was the end of the MenCare Plus project. We've compiled a set of recommendations in terms of policy shifts on how to improve men's participation in mother-to-child transmission, men's participation in preventing mother-to-child transmission of HIV. And it's very much the same as I mentioned. So there's both the work with the parents themselves, there's the need to work on attitudes of health providers, both facility-based and community-based. And then there's also the very necessary work of challenging gender unequal behavior that men carry. So to work against some of the socialization that we carry as men, to not be involved in health activities and care work. There's an example of a checklist that we've used in a few contexts on checking how father-friendly or supportive a facility could be. It might be useful. I personally don't like the term male-friendly facilities because we want to make them female-friendly as well. So gender-sensitive facilities might be a better term, so that there's a particular engagement with mothers and fathers as fathers. I'm very aware that we work in a context, and I know I'm in talking in a community health worker context. I'm talking a lot about facilities, but especially in Cape Town, we've had lots of stories of the security guard at the gate actually being, having been the one who prevents a man from entering a facility based on his very real experience of having violent criminals entering a facility, and sometimes even posing as a parent. So it's a very complex challenge to actually, before you even get to managing a facility being friendly to having fathers supporting mothers and children, how do you think about the whole system? So I think the question that I came here with today, firstly I'd like you to have a look at a report that we recently produced around the state of men's contribution to caregiving globally. Not as Sonke, but we were part of an editorial team that did that. It's called The State of the World's Fathers, and you can Google that. The first one came out in 2015. A project that I think is most aligned to the session that we are now talking about is in partnership with the National Association of Child Care Workers, and it's supported by UNICEF and the Department of Social Development, where we are asking the question, the connection that home visiting offers, how can that support better father involvement in child care? So I'm sure you have the very real experience of working mostly with mothers. The question is, where is the father and can he contribute? So in South Africa, we have the latest Time Use survey showed that women do 8 times more care work than men do in South Africa. So for every hour that a man does any kind of care work, a woman does 8 hours. So in that context, we can either focus on the 9 guys who are not there, or we can focus on the 1 guy who is there. So that's my closing question to you actually is, for those of you who have experience in community health work, dealing with the mothers, projects like Pilani, are there fathers present in some of those sessions? And what's the difference between those fathers who are present and the ones who are not? So that we can get them to speak to their peers. So that's what we're testing with the National Association of Childcare Workers. We're working more in the social work and the kind of overarching wellness context with NACCW. We're doing that in 3 sites in the Eastern Cape. But we're very much in the early days of developing that pilot. So we really need input from the very real experiences of home visiting that you have. Our vision is to take the fathers groups that we do, which we do in rooms like this or in training rooms or in libraries, out into the homes. How do we connect to both parents in the home visiting space? And then, just as a last point, the Portfolio Committee on Labour agreed 2 days ago on maternity leave being paid at 66% of salary. Not a sliding scale anymore, but at 66%. The committee also agreed to recommend to Parliament that paternity leave start in South Africa for 10 days. So I'm not sure how long it'll take the Portfolio Committee to pass it to... So I'm not sure how long it'll take it from the Portfolio Committee to the House, to the President to sign, but 10 days of paternity leave paid from UIF will happen in South Africa. The question that I'm sure many of you are saying to each other is, will the guys go fishing or drinking in those 10 days? So, because they are not present. And that's exactly the challenge I put to all of you, is how do we make sure that doesn't happen? So, just to say that again, that's the challenge, I think, is how do we make sure that when the dad, so when you speak to the mother in that house and she says, no, the father is working and that baby is younger than 10 days, you can tell her, no, he should be on paternity leave. Thank you.